Hi, all. Welcome to the new normal, exploring infinite possibilities. I'm Renata.
And I'm what's left of William.
Now you're all good and bad. Today, the topic is celebrate.
Celebrate, celebrate.
Celebrate, celebrate. Dance to your own music. And we had that event. It seemed like it was 2 weeks ago. It was just last Thursday, wasn't it? Yeah, it feels like it was forever. We had the thing at the house. We had a nice gathering. Yes. Those were our leftover balloons. And this morning when I went out in the garage, I'm like, one's still perked up, and one kind of like, had the air out of it. But that reminded me, it's like we all need to perk each other up. Sometimes.
Exactly.
Sometimes you feel like you got the air let out of you, So go hang around somebody that's kind of like got some extra air for you.
And I realized very clearly that the majority, and I hate that word,
I know,
of people don't really understand what celebration means.
I know, like you gave the example in the way that, and you hadn't thought about it in this way, but you were doing something at a restaurant, and you said you're celebrating, and he said like, well, what are you celebrating?
What are you celebrating?
And then we went to like, well, okay, I get why you want it, what, because then you get the why, but then we're both like, well, you don't have to have a reason to celebrate. Not an obvious sort of external.
Exactly.
I mean, birthdays, deaths of certain people, it could be a celebration.
Okay, tell me about it.
But the point is you get to choose. And we're just saying, like, let's get to choosing to celebrate what? Your wisdom that you bought with you. I like your shirt.
Thank you. Celebration Gang is something that all of you need to embrace, need to bring into your life. If nothing else, celebrate that you're conscious, that you are aware, and that you're ready to face the day.
So bringing along that wisdom that has gotten you to this point. I mean, if you're still here, especially watching this show, you can give yourself a pat on the back. But even if you are here and you're not watching the show, because that happens sometimes too, doesn't it? But you're with us in spirit, you're still here. So, like, let's celebrate the fact that you're part of the solution. Simply because you're still here.
Very important statement.
Yeah.
We all want solution. We know that the world is confused, disturbed right now.
Yes.
Physically, mentally, spiritually.
Yes.
Economically. And so now we have to celebrate that we have the opportunity to, quote you, stand up for what you believe in. Stand up and be counted.
I noticed a post that someone did. Halloween's, happening, and so a lot of the secondhand stores have the Halloween costumes, right? And this was a native mom and daughter going into a store, and the daughter noticed, and the mom at the same time, the stereotypical Hiawatha native costume with the blonde girl and the little thing around the head and the high boots with the heels and the little jiggy-jaggy on the bottom of the skirt, and I'm like, oh, they were so highly offended. They took the time to go to the manager and say, do you understand how this particular costume is a mockery against the long lineage tradition of our Native American tribes? How dare you offer this up? How dare you show your children this? This is not okay. It's like having blackface Sambo as an example. While those things have happened in the past, our collective wisdom now calls for us to choose a higher response, and you have to do that consciously. So they stopped in the store, got the manager.
Choosing a higher response, reacted, taking action.
And so that's reason to celebrate when we're just talking about standing up for yourself. You don't have to squash somebody, although it may feel like that to them, but you do have to take the time to not just bitch about it. They stopped what they were doing. The daughter stopped her shopping. Mm-hmm. They went and got the manager. The manager listened to them and said, wow, we really apologize. Oh, I got chills. I had no idea about that.
And that's the thing. People don't let themselves have ideas
Right.
of what other people are thinking, feeling, sensing.
Because if they didn't communicate that that was an egregious error and they were totally insulted by it, and this is why, if they hadn't taken the time to care about someone to share their light, that person would not have been enlightened about that.
And I believe that was a celebration.
That's why I bought that was a celebration.
So gang, it isn't
celebrate.
always a celebration of yay, yay, hip-a-boo. It is...
I could tell that just kind of came out. Yay,
It
yay,
did.
hip-a-boo.
It did.
We're saying that laughter. Get down there. No, be serious. Get back. No, I can't. No. Moment of laughter. We're good.
Okay.
We can go home now. Boo. Oh my gosh. So I don't know if we should enlighten people with your dream. I'm okay if you share part of it because it was pretty amazing. Because I mean, if you want to, I'm
It's
okay.
all right to share it because when I told you,
Yeah.
I was giving it to you.
Yeah. Okay.
So now, if you say, never say it again, I would honor that.
I got you.
Yeah.
But you say it so well because you have the dream. Would you want to share it? Because it was cool. I
Okay,
love
it
the
was an
metaphors.
interesting thing. As you know, Renata's a very busy lady. And she and 4 other women were getting together and going someplace. And their transportation arrived, which was a turtle. And there were 5 seats on the turtle. And they all took a seat and gave Mr. Turtle the address, and off they went.
In the turtle seats.
In the turtle seats.
I love that.
Now, when the event was over, now there were 6 of them. And she said to one, would you call the turtle to come pick us up? And the lady took her finger, and she said, okay, I just called him. He'll be here in a few minutes.
And then right when you said that about the finger and the ear, I'm like, oh God, thank you for that message. That was like so fabulous because you always talk about senses and feeling all your senses, 6th, 7th, 8th sense, and that was that ear connection because we pick
Yep.
up vibration. And so that's where we're all kind of going, and that just dovetails with some other dreams that I've had about just standing up for myself, that kind of thing.
And the fun thing was, when Mr. Turtle arrived, there were not 5 seats. No one had told him there was a new passenger, but now there were 6 seats. So
6 seats.
perception is far beyond verbal communication.
And the visible, tangible communication as
Yep.
well. So it's like we've moved beyond this in terms of celebrating now. We know some stuff and we can respond with that stuff that we know. That moves us further along because that means that we trust our knowing. But when we keep searching for stuff to know before we move on, then there's no reason to celebrate what you know. See? So you have to stop and celebrate all the things that you know that have gotten you to this point. That makes your life good, joyful, sometimes miserable. But own that. That's what I'm saying.
Ownership.
Be responsible for that stuff. It's like none of us are a victim, despite the fact that it does feel like there is, heavy pressure on you from time to time and you don't feel like you have a choice. We're saying everything is energy, and on that energetical level, you have a multitude of choices.
Now, I want to interrupt.
Please do.
Good, because I'm going to. In America, we're taught to celebrate Christmas.
Yes.
If we celebrate Christmas, we need to avoid expecting or demanding that people not Christian celebrate with us.
Oh, and that's
That's a big one.
Oh, that's like a big chasm, isn't it? Oh, it's like,
Yes, yes,
whoa,
yes. and
you can't
yes.
even have a plane fly over that. I mean, it takes forever.
Generations.
Oh, that's a deep one. Speaking of that, off the subject but on the subject, I share with you that I went to a little event with Maria
Yes.
at Anita's house, and it's the Urantia, the Urantia group, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that book before. It didn't resonate with me, but anyhow, I like Maria and Anita, and they have a little once a month thing. I thought, well, let me check it out. So I checked it out, and it's kind of fun. I'll probably go back because I enjoyed the camaraderie. But I'm not really interested in studying the life of Jesus, which is what that's about, which is what, the Bible, a lot of things are about.
But that also is a major contradiction. What they claim about Jesus, and what the Christians claim about Jesus, and what the Jews think about.
Mm-hmm.
Three different interpretations.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And so I thought, and then you had some things to say about that with me the other day, and this morning I'm like, well, you know what? I'm not really going there to do the study in that way. I'm wanting to check out people that say they, have been doing this for a long time, to see how you share that love and light based on the information that you share. Are you embracing, diversity in your group, for instance? Are you just trying to overshadow everything that you learned about that onto every situation, every person?
Because a lot of Urantia is not diverse.
In fact, one of the ladies said that she had a friend that came with her, and she was black. And after doing it for a while, she actually claimed that it was racist. And she wrote to the headquarters and, had some things to say. And when she shared that, I had like a little bit of a trigger, a little bit. I'm like, but you know what? You can choose how you want to be. I mean, there's no absolutes at all. And you know better with your level of spiritual discernment, Renata. Spiritual discernment. Never to follow anybody. You know that. But, it's always cool to check out to see where people are coming from.
And I'm not judging Urantia.
No.
But it was founded for the intellectual community. It was secondly founded for the Christian community. And instead of allowing the other communities to coexist, it was founded to not let, in that case, blacks, come in or have your own group.
Or have your own group. Most of our viewers know I've been married for a while. George originally was raised Mormon. And I had heard that one little tidbit about how Mormons didn't allow blacks to be in the hierarchy of the church. I'm not sure where that came from, but I mentioned that to George. And so he said, well, I don't know. He wasn't like a staunch practicing Mormon, but still he had no challenges with it, and that's how he was raised. He's good. He said, well, let me have some of the people from the church come and see if they can answer your question. So a couple people from the church came, and, they said some words. I don't remember what they were. But, in my head and heart, I'm like, okay. It still didn't, like, okay. They had reasons and justifications for that, but it didn't make any sense to me.
Okay, now I want to take what you just said and run a different direction.
Please do.
There's a comedian from England, born in England, but she's black.
Oh,
her name is Gina.
Gina, okay.
Something.
Gina, something.
Her heritage goes back to a country in Africa. So anyways, she said, I'm not afraid of the cops because as soon as I open my mouth, they automatically think I'm white.
Yeah.
And
she starts.
The interviewer said, what?
What are you talking about? Yeah.
A cop pulled me over, followed me for 11 miles. I finally pulled him over. And I said, am I doing something wrong? You've been following me for 11 miles. And of course, she spoke in her English accent.
Well, she knew the King's English, yes.
And obviously intelligent. And he said, oh, I'm very sorry. Somehow I thought you were black. The accent made him realize she was not black. She made you look pale.
Ah, got you.
And so he automatically said how sorry he was because he thought she was English. We need to shift our perception.
Yeah,
and that's what we're talking about with celebration. Celebrate who you are, not who you were taught to think you are.
Or who you'll be, even tomorrow or a year from now when you get that degree.
Or in 10 minutes.
Celebrate who you are now. And
Now.
now, like right now. So what do people say? What do you guys say when you're like loving on yourself? That's celebrating yourself. Be with that.
Yes.
Be with that.
And if you meet someone like I did in that restaurant, and they say, "What are you celebrating?" Just say, "I'm celebrating myself."
Yeah, and then be like, "Ooh, let's take a picture. I'm celebrating you and I."
Yes. Oh, that was a good.
Yeah. So I'm celebrating you saying hi to me.
And so, turn everything in your life into a celebration, and that celebration is going to help create a safe world for your kids, your grandkids, or in my case, my great-grandkids.
I know.
That still blows my mind that I have great-grandchildren.
I know.
I go, where did that come from?
I know. Isn't that amazing? Ooh, 5 grandchildren. I do. I have 5 grandchildren. I didn't even come in wanting children this lifetime, but I married someone that had, and so I got 5. I got 5 grandkids. I love to start out that conversation with people because it just, especially women.
Yeah.
Like, I have 5 grand. Like, what? Because see, the perception is if you have 5 grandkids, you had some kids of your own. And look how toned you are and how good your body looks. And I'm like, no. They're step grandkids, but I got you, didn't I? I just love, that's a great way to start a conversation. But what's so important for us people that are kind of heavy into the new age and the spirituality of things and the metaphysics of things, we're talking about celebrating your wisdom now because that keeps you, balanced in 3D. And as you move into that 4D, that other level of energy, that other level of ascension, you start to tap into the collective dumping things, the collective loving things, We still have duality. We bring it along with us. It just gets weightier in that energy of fourth, okay? So it's important to celebrate when you let go of some things that are obviously in your knowing keeping you stuck. That is a chance to celebrate.
And another thing about the unstuckness is when you say to people, "I'm celebrating my birthday," also include and the birthday of everybody else born on the same day.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking about the idea of gratitude. And you have not met my friend Deneen, but I've talked about her before.
Yes.
And the other day, she sent this really nice letter, and it took me a couple days to read it because I was busy. And then I sat down and read it, and she was just reminiscing on how she spent a lot of time by herself, which is her choice, but certain key little moments that her and myself and another friend and George have spent some really memorable moments together that she could just pull up in her mind's eye. And I could feel, I read the letter to George, and I could feel that energy, and I got some tears. I'm like, oh, how cool is that? That attitude of gratitude for the stuff that has brought you joy and makes you feel kind of warm and fuzzy with your friends and family. That's good stuff to celebrate.
And it is a celebration again. Mm-hmm. So all of you, find the courage to celebrate yourself.
Mm-hmm. The courage to celebrate yourself. I like that word, the courage, compassion, camaraderie, collaboration. Those are all great words that keep us moving out of the fourth into that fifth dimensional unity consciousness, which is what's going on with all of us. It's not the end it all, be it all, but that door is open. 2021 is 5 years, so that portal of 5 energy is open for us. This year is crucial for that choosing.
And so celebrate. Mm-hmm. Give joy into the world, because everything you give is going to come back. It might not come back the way you want it, but something celebrative will come into your life.
Would you tag that? I know a lot of people ask you about karma. What do you say to them about the karma?
Oh, Lord. Remember that there are 15,000 different interpretations.
Okay, that's deep. I like that one.
But I believe that karma is not determined by our intellectual brain. Karma is determined by the soul,
okay,
which is not the same as ego.
No.
Your ego belongs to this body.
Yes, yes.
So, with karma, if you have an experience that you don't like, it's still karma. If not the you are acting out what the other person, that word,
Person, yeah.
thank you,
I got you.
what they need to balance something inside of themselves. Nothing is one-sided.
Wow.
And so karma is, if, like when I told the story of my having a car
Yeah.
and the front end was taken off in an accident.
Yes.
Well, how I dealt with it was balancing the other driver's karma, who had took the car apart, and when the police came, they got their part of the karma, which was just because they were in a wreck doesn't mean they're angry. And so karma, I think, affects people in other parts of the world, if not even in the universe.
One key thing that I heard you say, and then I want to speak on that, is that embrace the situation at the time, which is what you did.
Embrace the moment.
At the accident, you're like, okay, my Prius has her base chopped off.
Yes.
Let me get out of the car and say hey to the person that did it and see what's up, kind of thing, you know? Embrace that, and then you were like, with the calm spirit, like, well, let me just go say hey to them. Or, you know, you weren't, you know? So that embracing it in the moment, like just that word, embracing, you know, allow a solution to come without having to know what that is.
And by the time the police arrived, which is only a matter of minutes, he and I were sitting next to the cars, talking and enjoying each other.
See.
And the police automatically calmed down.
Yes.
And then when I just said about something positive will come to you, the insurance settlement came within days.
Quickly.
And that's virtually impossible.
I know.
So if you give good, you're going to get it back in ways you don't expect. So we throw expectation away when we deal with karma.
Right, and that's good. Thank you for
Okay.
that. Made it very nice and clear.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it did, because I hear often people repeat, "Oh, I'm not going to do that. That's bad karma." Well, it depends on how you come with it. Nothing's
also
automatically bad.
Yeah, and remember that what you think is bad might be exactly what the other participants need.
Very much so they can make a clearer choice. And a lot of this is not
Yes.
a lot of this that's going on is not an intellectual process. That's why it seems to be so important to emphasize the celebration that's necessary so we can move forward. It's like there's no need to keep looking for solutions. Support the people that are, for instance, with this vax, undecided thing. That's a story that's out there. Okay, that's a good one. We don't need to know much more about that. I mean, maybe you go a little deeper like I have and you know a few more things. But at some point, I have to leave that alone because more resistance creates more resistance. More fear creates more fear. And more importantly, if I'm wanting to evolve as a soul, then I'm kind of like, well, you need to dump that because you're putting attention on something that you don't want to create.
And so, may I say something about you?
Yeah, okay, honey.
Renata, when someone says to her, "You're not wearing a mask," she just says, "That's true, I'm not." So, well, here, I'll give you one. She says, "You can give it to me, but I'm not going to use it." And that gives everybody the right to celebrate their right to be individual.
Right. At some point, I was so obsessed with this whole thing and the whole story, it threw me off balance. And then I just had to go back to the basics. So what are you focusing on? What do you want to create? Like, oh, no, while I'm aware of the story, and I think it's pretty, messed up, but that's just my viewpoint, you know? So for me to beat people up or judge people about what their choice is, that, is not a benchmark that I want to be defined by at all.
And in my case, if I go into a building that says mask required, I will wear it. Not because I'm giving in, but because I, William, can be very fragile. And the confrontations wound me in ways that I cannot explain.
You're okay.
And so I just do it to protect myself. Not from any virus, not from any bullshit, but I protect myself from unnecessary confrontation.
From the energy of it. I feel you on that one. And that's like courageous for you to say that, because a lot of us come... A lot of us feel that we're supposed to know the answer instead of be the answer. And you're
Be
just
your own answer.
You're being the answer for yourself. And
That's
so
right.
that is like just owning your truth without having to make somebody else wrong. That's very delicate. I'm not saying it's not. It's very, very delicate. But it's not necessary to attempt to measure up ever again.
Right.
And in this particular, platform of, the choosing that seems to be a little bit sneaky and underhanded, in my opinion, requires people to really step up.
And that goes back to the topic.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrate your right to know who you are and embrace who you are. Recognize the parts where you're fragile, where you're strong,
Mm-hmm.
and make your choices.
And as long as you are balanced with your knowing, you are good, you will ascend, no one's striking you off like, no, they don't get to go anywhere.
You're right.
No. See, so as long as you have a clear mirror for you and you respond to your clear mirror, your reflection, you're good to go, in my opinion, So this idea of collective light, though, I mean, that's kind of what happens when we all band together, we come together.
Yep.
Like the event that we had, it was bigger than we imagined on the 28th.
Oh, yes.
I mean, thanks to one of our friends who just said something, thank you, Doug. He just said something to some people, and they're like, oh, well, what? People are getting together? We want to go.
Yes,
And then we
yes.
just got a wonderful group of people that were like, that was just fun.
And it was a celebration.
It was. That's where those balloons came from. And it was just like, oh, the energy felt multiplied. We had about 16 people. That's a nice, cozy group of people in our house. But it felt more like, 50 in terms of the love vibe that was there and the camaraderie that was there. None of us really knew each other.
And some of those people left with that energy and shared it with people that weren't there.
Right. It does rub off on you.
Absolutely.
Now we are all carriers of light, and it's just important to acknowledge that. That is like 99.99% of our purpose here. I don't know, maybe I'm overestimating that.
I love what you said. We're carriers of light.
And we have to
And that's
consciously
infectious.
we have to consciously embrace that, though, and it's
That's
not
right.
limited to whether you're a fish or a dog or a tree. It's like that is the deal. We were in Habitat for Humanity looking for a couple things yesterday, and this woman had this cutest little dog, and her name was Black Pearl. She was like a little cute dog. And I'm like, oh, can I touch her? She's like, well, thanks for asking. She says, but she'll lick you all over. And she did. She was just like, oh, I got pictures with her. And then George got some pictures with little Pearl. And it was just like, oh. It's just like, I needed that Pearl, thank you. It's time for a dog. Chai's been gone for a couple years now. I'm feeling the dog energy, William.
Doesn't surprise me.
I know.
But now that reminds me,
What?
I go to a little park near my apartment, and people bring their dogs there. Well, I also ask, may I touch your dog?
Yeah, I learned that from
So
you.
I said, oh, may I pat your dog? And he said, yeah, I'd rather not, because he gets a little aggressive. And I said, okay, then if you don't mind me getting aggressive back, let me touch him.
Peanut gallery.
So I reached over, and his mode of aggression to me was licking me, cuddling to me, and the guy said, that's not his kind of aggression. I said, it is. I'm just acknowledging him in a non-aggressive fashion. And so that's his aggression back, is kissy kissy love. And it was wonderful.
Kissy, kissy. You know, it's like you can just borrow benefits from things. You don't have to own it.
That's right.
In fact, we were watching. Seems like we've learned a lot of things just being out and about in the world these days. NHK News, it's one of our favorite stations. I fell asleep like I always do at the end of the evening. But they had a show on how they're moving into this renting everything. And these subscriptions, like a subscription for a toothbrush. They'll send you the electric part, and every month they'll send you a new toothbrush. And so, like for clothes, this is in Japan they're doing it. And then for clothes, and then you turn them in. And, you know, for houses, because people work virtually, so you can just rent a place for $400 fully furnished. You know, I'm like, and I said to George this morning, I'm like, you know what? Okay, I get that. But, you know, I like to have some stuff. I like repurposing. I would rather repurpose, you know what I mean? And then pass it forward. I still kind of want to own some stuff. I don't want to have to trade in my stuff. I want it to be a choice. And there seems to be with this utopia where there's a segment of people that want to go to the absolute. Well, let's just take everything away and we'll control it. Then we'll be good. Well, how does that work? That's never worked. Do you know what I'm saying? All and through history. That's never worked.
And now this is only an opinion, but I believe that people are so desperate to return to their interpretation of normal that they are then setting it up for more problems.
Yeah, it's like
Even with their solutions.
I would agree. There's that a tendency to superimpose your whatever you got going on, you know, onto other people. So if you do that, it's important to kind of step back and see if it took. Like, are they excited? You know, do they get you?
And so now, back to the term of celebration. When you leave your home at any time, to work, to play, whatever, find other people, animals, trees that need acknowledgement. And you can tell, you can feel, and acknowledge those in need. It doesn't matter how they're dressed. It doesn't matter how much money they have in their hand. It matters that you give, without expectation, something like, "Hi, how you doing?" We just did that out on the street to a man.
I know.
And we had a wonderful sharing.
We did, and we bought a couple of things from him, and then one of them was this love globe. I'm like, he just gifted us the love globe. Isn't that cool? Oh, you can't see it, but it says
And now, what kind of man, even though he was obviously not wealthy, what kind of man would gift us with a love globe?
And I was
Unless
so,
inside, he's a beautiful being.
see, you got to feel your way with relationships
Yes.
now. Oh my gosh, you just cannot. I mean, that's my big wake up. You are not able to depend on what people say, even what they write. If I cannot feel that, then I'm probably not going to do that. That, you know, that's
And like-
pretty much it.
When I was growing up, 212 years ago,
215.
that's more accurate, a man would never say, "That man has a beautiful soul." You didn't do that. Nowadays, most people don't really care. And now, it is no longer a sexuality thing, it's a sensuality thing of admitting, that's a beautiful soul, that's a beautiful man, that's a beautiful woman. It doesn't mean you want to take them home and screw them. It means you're acknowledging their beauty. That's a celebration.
That's a celebration. And if you have not had a chance to go to the Tula website, theuniversallifealliance.org. Again, that's theuniversallifealliance.org. If you go under our blogs, there's the Williams blog and there's a Tula blog. It's a little more generic than the Tula blog, but Williams blog has some of the articles that he's shared over in Japan through the years. And the one that you had written about sexuality and sensuality
Yes.
was really a great art. I told you when I read that, I'm like, oh, that's good. And it just wasn't super long, but just the, again, feeling the energy underneath it with the words.
Yeah, because there's a big difference. When you celebrate your sensuality, you're taking away all the misinterpretations that come with judgment of what are they thinking? Why are they thinking? You're just celebrating a statement.
Being spontaneous in your
Yeah, oh,
communication,
good.
isn't that a good one? Because there's so much repression of, don't be too femmy or don't be too masculine.
yes.
And what does that mean?
And you know, if you're born in a female body, but you like to build things and you like to drive trucks, that doesn't mean anything. It just means that's your individuality. Just celebrate it. That's that woman's sensuality, not what her sexuality might be.
And look at the setup on our planet now. Look what all of us in mass have created with, we don't have like truck world for girls, on another globe, and then interior design world for guys, another planet. We don't have that. We have that all, you feel what I'm saying, right? We have all of those choices collectively that we've created through time available for all of us to utilize. The little challenge that's going on just right now, just a small one, is that we want to redistribute the wealth for everybody on the globe to choose from, to pick and choose, and not just cover up and say, well, only the lower layer is available for the people, and then we're going to save all this other good stuff for just a small percentage, Even that story can be, shifted drastically by our presence.
And many of you out there have children. And we try as parents to mold them. Mold your children with ethics, dignity, respect of all living things. But if you've got a boy and he likes to dress as a girl, allow it. That's his manifestation. That's his celebration. A girl likes to do tumbling as a sport. Allow that. She likes football. Let her be a football player. Allowance with dignity and grace. Celebrate your children. Don't repress them.
And, I loved, the psychological aspect of, just embracing what is in front of you and not creating more resistance with your kids when they say, I want to go experiment here and there. You're good. How much money you need? And see how long that lasts. Mm-hmm. But as soon as, I'm one, maybe you relate to this, cut your nose off to spite your face. God, that's been my motto forever. You know what I mean? And so, what happens when you tell your kids, no, what do they do? Just exactly what you said, no to. So the smart mentor and the smart person, says, well, you're good. Check it out. Let me know how it was for you.
And if you need support, I'm right here for you.
I'm right here for you. So my mom was always my best friend because she never said, don't smoke, don't drink. What do you do sudden innuendos? She never did that to me. And so a consequent, I just, I experimented with things. But, and some things took me down for sure. Those are my choices. However, though, that never feeling like I could, I didn't have any of that going on in my life. And I'm so grateful to be raised in a family like that, because it makes me pretty adventuresome, but it makes me also, at 64, very responsible and very discerning.
And so with your children, with your friends, with your lovers, celebrate with them. Sometimes it might be just taking a walk in nature.
Yeah.
And that's a celebration because you are celebrating, but you're giving that energy to the earth, to the trees, to the wind, and the wind carries it to other parts of the world where it's needed. So everything must be allowed.
And there is this thing about wanting to save or rescue, people, and that's good if it's like your neighbor, go help them out, or you can do some community work. That's a good thing. But there's so much that's out of balance now on our planet that's being rebalanced across the whole entire globe. if you can do some crowdfunding for an organization or a nonprofit to help support those that really that is their platform, the attorneys, the people that are handling the human trafficking, and they're making companies be accountable for that, go donate to their, nonprofit. We are doing the idea of World Family Strong and being people and bringing people together. And so, our events are all about that. Go to our website and you can donate to us to encourage us to, and assist us in doing this kind of work out in the community and the globe. It's super important. So you don't have to be the one that originates it, but go support others. They need your support.
That's a form of celebration.
That's a form of celebration.
I mentioned my son Keith in Hawaii. They have the organization. You don't have to donate to us to then transfer it to them. There's a link. You can donate directly to Malama Lama K9, which is dogs that have been injured.
So anything that you feel in your head and heart that you want to send some love to, you could, if you were invalid and just were in the bed, you could do some pictures of some things, put them in an envelope,
Absolutely.
and you can send that energy out there. So we are not limited.
All of you. It doesn't matter. Like physically, it's difficult for me to get around. But I still travel, I still explore, and if I can do it, all of you can find solutions to whatever karma or experience is in your life.
Right. You're not a piece of junk.
God don't make junk.
Don't be throwing yourself away.
That's right.
And to this very day, still when I hear that word God, I see like an individual person that's probably white with a halo around their head. Like, where the hell did that vision come from? It's kind of funny, but I superimpose that now these days with grand organizing design because that just feels universal for me.
Well, I always find it fascinating that most people think of Jesus in that case as a white man. He wasn't white.
I know. In fact, George loves TikTok, so sometimes he'll send me little stuff. He sent one that was really great. It was like a woman was posing a question to these three women. She said, "So, what is one thing in the Bible that everybody thinks is in the Bible that isn't?" Right? And then the women were like, "Oh," they were kind of perplexed. And one woman said, "Oh, white people." Like, you know what? Everybody in the Bible, though, they were of brown skin. Think about that.
Right.
I mean, they were brown skin. They weren't European. They weren't white.
No.
So I'm like, okay. I thought that was kind of interesting. It's like, yeah. So history's been changed.
We change history constantly.
Yeah.
When I go into Asia, I do it a lot, or I did in the past. They all have a different interpretation in writing of World War II.
Yeah. And
It was the same war.
It was the same war. My friend Kenneth, who has the acupuncture business, which,
Yes.
he was at the party. It was nice. He said, in school, aside from the glass blowing class my son's taking, which is kind of cool, he goes, the history they're teaching? He goes, I'm not sure what they're teaching. They're just teaching like Washington history. They're not teaching world history. I'm like, really? I was a horrible history student, but I'm just saying, at least I had the option to learn it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm such a silly person. It's a good thing, though, isn't it? Let's see. I always make some little notes so we stay on track, but we always do really good. We just like pick up and just start chatting. Let me just look. Is there something else that we want to cover with? Oh, here's a good one about celebrating. Whenever you find yourself uniting and not dividing, give yourself a hand. Every time you can unite inside of yourself with a decision, with the karma, because that's what you're talking about with the karma thing. It's like you got to unite with yourself and recognize.
And
Never mind.
everyone out there in the world, in the planet and on the planet, we're all connected.
We are.
Our DNA might be slightly different, but we're from the same source of energy. It doesn't matter if you call it God, It matters that you call it energy. We are part of a universal family, not just a world family.
It doesn't matter what you call it, but you have to call upon it.
And then you have to manifest it.
Yeah. So, so many of us are used to that ultimate thing being dropped down upon us and into us. And really it is about an opening up and a letting up of what is already there, letting it rise up.
How many Christians do you know who actually live and practice Christianity?
We can see a show of hands. And we've got some viewers watching too, which is nice. And you can call in if you want to call in. The call-in number is 253-433-8589. I'll do that slower. It's 253-433-8589. There's the number across the screen. So you can call in if you've got, a comment on that. In fact, we'd love if you called in and gave us a little feedback on that whole thing.
Because remember, that's a form of celebration.
Yes, it is.
Bring light, love, and joy into your life. No one's going to come along and give it to you unless you're already manifesting it.
Yes. And so the lens is focused more on the inside now to create that unity.
That's right.
And even if you find that you have a hard time doing that, that's okay. That's just where you're at. Things will rapidly move forward as you're ready to embrace that. Just know that. And sounds trite to say all will be well, but that really is the intention, for all to be well.
And it is possible, or we wouldn't think about it.
It wouldn't be there in the little noggin,
That's
huh?
right. That's right.
Right, and there's something about every time a thought comes through, I learned that, you don't always have to put energy with it. It can just kind of come through, and you can let it go. I mean, you would say that's like discipline. And I know you're really disciplined about that. Like thoughts, you don't ruminate a lot on the past. You discipline yourself to let those things go. That's your
Because
choice.
there's nothing that we can do to change what happened 20 years ago.
No.
Yesterday.
No.
I can't change anything that happened.
No. But, clearly what we're saying, though, if you pay attention to the now, when that comes up, you use your level of knowing and your wisdom, and then you embrace what's in front of you. If there's a little deeper nugget that needs to be worked with, or, you need to go tell yourself you're sorry or I love you more, or your family, let the family go sometimes that's a hard one for people.
And so you take and learn from your past experiences.
Exactly. And then bring that learning forward as a reflection of where you're at now, not as a comparison.
Oh, I like that.
I know, that just popped out. Isn't that good? That's just a reflection of where you're at now. Because you don't have to prove anything. I suppose that's the big thing that I've learned.
That's the big thing.
There's nothing to prove. You are the proof. You're here. That's the proof. Wow. That's amazing.
And so celebrate life. Celebrate the peace. Even though peace might not be where you're living today, celebrate that there is peace in the world that is spreading.
And I know a lot of us are having, loss of sleep, loss of some family members and loss of a lot of stuff going on. Know that it's not just about you. As you have cleared the pathway, you've got a lot more light to reflect out. And so that just bounces off a lot of people that need to see your light and they need to keep moving forward. So it's like it gets to be a little bit mucky out there. Don't be disheartened. It's a little heavy. It's a little heavy.
Part of your celebration is celebrate the women of Afghanistan have the right to continue to grow. Celebrate the fact that some of the natives of Australia have the right to survive. Just celebrate the slightest and the biggest things.
The slightest and the biggest things. So I heard that the Taiwan military was on alert because they were potentially under attack from China.
Yep.
And then we have an agreement with the Taiwan military, so to speak. But because Australia is close, they reached out to Australia and said, if we need to, defend, will you help? And the word was, yes, we will. Second thing that is really huge in the news, and the mainstream is not reporting this at all, but the South African government is being taken to court. They got a criminal lawsuit in South Africa against their president for allowing the lockdown and not checking out the whole story before that happened, for the parliament who supported the president with the dollar mandates to keep the lockdown going in South Africa. And they also have, so that's the big part of it, and that's an official lawsuit. And if there were so many criminal people, in higher echelons in their court, that wouldn't have gotten to the place that it has. So that's an opportunity to celebrate, because lots of people are speaking up, not liking that we've been enslaved for way too long, and there's been this, indebtedness placed on our planet for a long 6,000 years, maybe longer. And so a lot of things are just being thrown in our face, oh, that's what happened? You don't have to go deep down the rabbit hole, and you don't have to take down the old world order. That's not your job. What you have to do, I believe, William, is to rise up inside of yourself and meet yourself.
Yep.
And greet yourself and say, hey, where you been?
Well, I hear a lot of talk about slavery, and slavery is not something new. For centuries, there have been slaves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about black, white, or brown. It's about taking the right for individuals away from them.
Right, and a lot of that's mirrored in our financial system, which is also having its challenges. A lot of you know that Facebook went down, and everything associated with Facebook, and then the Bank of America had some challenges as well. So what we hear on our end is that, the month of October and maybe into November, let's not be so dependent on our social media and those. Get out and start rubbing elbows with your neighbors.
Yes.
Have your plan of action to make sure you got enough water. Commiserate with your family and get a little plan so you can, if things go down, you got a couple weeks of food. That kind of thing.
I don't see that as charisma, that word you used.
Okay.
I see it as making sure that you have everything there to continue celebrating.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so collect your resources.
Because commiserate is, to me, not everyone, but to me that's a very negative word.
Rightfully so. But come together and really have a plan
Yes,
about being
yes.
able to share and celebrate. I would have been really sad if, for some reason, that someone thought they could stop our celebration, the 20, that we just had the other the week. In fact, I came outside the next day, and our neighbor's she's so sweet. She's like, well, you guys had a little party or something, because the little celebration balloons were outside. On the post office mailbox still. I'm like, oh yeah, our nonprofit had a first little event. It was really nice. So I should say we have another event at the end of the month.
That's big. Come and bring your friends. Tell your friends about it.
Yeah, October 28th, so that's Thursday. So we know that Halloween is in there a little bit. So us adults, and if you've got your kids that you want to bring, mask and costume is optional. But, it's kind of a festive environment, so whatever. Put a bow in your hair. I know Anita does. She puts a bow in her hair. And I mentioned Anita Burton. She was one of our guests on our show. Her healing journey with cancer. If you haven't seen that show, it was a really informative show, I thought. It's going to be at Anita's house. So if you're a Tula member and you're at our gathering, then you're going to get a notice about where the event is at and the address. If you are not a Tula member, and this is not an enticement, but maybe it is, I don't know. You need to give a call to us at that 253-433-8589. That's the Tula phone number. And somebody will, if you leave a message, name and number, we'll call you back if you say, I'm interested in coming to your event and having some fun with you guys. Okay? Then one of us will call you back, give you an address. All right?
And the important thing is, now is time to take action to create joy, celebration, peace.
Yeah, we could leave with that one.
Yes, yes. And Renata has some classes coming up. I have some classes coming up. So stay in touch with our website. Stay in touch with us.
Absolutely. In fact, our blog for October, this is October, Renata.
Yes, it is.
Our blog has Introducing Vibrational Synergies by Renata Dunkel. Oh, that would be me. So I talk a little bit about how I do the vibrational synergies, which is, combination of many elements. And I believe the first class that I'm going to do is about just, the value of blending, using essential oils in your products, how to amp up your regular health and beauty aids, like putting some things in Vicks that makes it even more powerful for you. Those are examples. And some of the benefits you'll get you'll feel better, you'll feel more in control of your life when you're able to kind of create blends that make your lungs stronger, when you have some sprays that makes your skin sparkle, those kinds of things. So go check out a couple of the blog posts in October about my products, and or in case you don't.
And what I really respect about Renata's work is that it is individualized.
Yeah.
It doesn't claim everyone is going to have the exact same response.
No, true. And like I learned how to work with essential oils and herbs and how to custom blend, and then I went in a whole different direction because I knew I could, with how
Sure,
I create.
sure.
So I share that with you, and then it gives you at least a platform to start to work from. You start to build your confidence, and there you go. I have one more little short little
Go for
blurby
it.
to say. A new friend of mine, Marla Martinson, has a weekly podcast, and I'm going to be one of her guests on the Marla Martinson podcast. It is, damn it, I do that too. I space on the name, but nonetheless, I'll post it so you will know where to go check it out. That's Friday. That's this Friday, I think at 12 o'clock.
Okay,
Yeah, and that's kind of it.
so celebrate the rest of the day, celebrate tomorrow, give and receive what you deserve.
Celebrate,
Peace.
celebrate, dance to the music.